Welcome to Power Lunch Live, our second half of the program today, our second hour. And it's good to be back with you after actually a long break. I took a couple weeks off after about 200 shows. And so it's good to be back with you here on air in the middle of the day on LinkedIn Live. The whole point of the show is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, people who are doing amazing work in the world that we can learn from, that we can help us get better at what we do. Now, today I've got Kelly Knight on, and she is president of EOS Worldwide. I know that's not the title. There's another title, but I was trying to equate what that meant in your vernacular at EOS, and is an expert at building teams. And so I wanted to dig in today about EOS and in the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And welcome to the show, Kelly.
Oh, great to be here, Rhett.
Well, we do take questions live. So guys, if you want to ask questions of Kelly about the system and about how it can help you in your business, please do get online. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, YouTube, and of course, LinkedIn Live. We do monitor those feeds. So ask your questions today, and so that we can get to those things that you really want to learn about. Kelly, thank you for being on the program. What is and being a systems guy myself, I really like the word operating system, but what is an entrepreneurial operating system? It makes sense to me in my head, but what is it?
Yeah. So EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's really just a practical, simple set of tools and a process that helps entrepreneurs get what they want from their business. So much like an operating system or an iOS of technology, your phone or maybe your computer, this is really kind of the engine behind entrepreneurs and leadership teams running a really successful business.
Okay. What does that mean? I mean, so we understand.
A little backstory, if I could. So Gino Wickman, who is the creator, originator, founder of everything EOS, really started at the age of 21. He was an entrepreneur himself. At the age of 25, his company, his family's business wasn't doing well. It needed a turnaround. Financially was not going to succeed. So he came in, turned the business around, ran it for 7 years, sold it. And what that left in him is this sense that he never wanted any other entrepreneur to go through what he and his family had gone through. Mm-hmm. So he really experimented and tested and tried out a bunch of different tools on clients and vetted that out. And that's what's now become EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So if you imagine, many entrepreneurs have a passion, a vision for what they build and what they want to do and what impact they want to make in the world, but they really don't know how to run it on a day-to-day basis. And how do you inject, simple tools that allow your leadership teams to understand how to scale and build that vision and basically to execute on that vision successfully. So we've got lots of tools. Examples include, how do you run a weekly meeting successfully so that it's efficient, everyone shows up on time, you've got someone really running that meeting and someone documenting it and walking away with clear articulation of what are the to-dos this week, what are the rocks or the goals that we want to accomplish for the quarter, how are we going to get there, how are we going to do it together, and then cascading those messages through to every member of the organization. So it's tools like that are really fundamental, super simple, but yet are the backbone of any organization that really can grow successfully and efficiently.
Okay. Well, talk about that a little bit. What are some of the common problems you guys help entrepreneurs solve?
Mm-hmm. Many times it's around people. So we've got people, process, data, issues, traction, and vision are the 6 key components of our model. EOSworldwide.com will show you what that looks like and what our process looks like. But many core issues fundamentally come down to people issues. We have something that we call Rhett RPRS. That means right person, right seat. And so anytime you're filling a seat on your accountability chart or organizational chart, as some say, you want to get someone who really gets it, wants it, and has the capacity to do that role and do it well. And so we've got a plan that shows you, how do you vet that out? How do you make sure you really get the right people in those seats? And then consistently ensure that they share your vision and your core values. Because at the end of the day, can't just be someone who fulfills the needs of the role, but someone who's really culturally a great fit, so that together you're working in harmony and that you really have a healthy organization top to bottom. So people is probably the number one issue that our implementers are business coaches, professionally trained.
Mm-hmm.
They go to a 3-day boot camp. It's very intensive where you learn the process, the tools, the model, how to engage and work with leadership teams to show them the path and forge a way forward that is better and more simple and confidence inducing, because at the end of the day, entrepreneurs want to see their vision come to fruition. They don't always know all that's behind it to help make that happen. And so we have found that we have almost 400 professionally trained EOS implementers worldwide that are hands-on with the teams to help them understand how to use these tools and again, succeed.
What is why is it so hard? And this is as a coach and a business person myself. Why is it so hard to get people to come together as a team? I guess why is it hard to unify? I guess that's the question. Why is it so hard to unify a team?
Mm-hmm. There can be lots of reasons. I'm going to speak from my personal experience as the integrator of EOS Worldwide, but the first is, do you have a unified shared vision?
And I hate to interrupt because as I'm thinking through this, I mean, there's an added component to that. I mean, I feel like today is even harder because we've got all the political issues going on. We've got all the economic issues going on. We've got COVID going on. It just seems like that it's getting harder and harder to come together as a team when we have so many perceived differences, I guess. And does that influence what you're talking about?
It does. So I'll speak to that as well. So I'm going to reverse how I answer your original question then. So we believe deeply, Rhett, that as an organization, you must be starting from the top down, open, honest, and transparent. So whatever is happening in the world, I mean, whether times are good or they're not so good, or they're flat out terrible because there's a worldwide pandemic, it's so important to acknowledge the pain and the fear and the frustrations and the anxieties that are going on in a team. And sometimes you have to slow down to go fast. And so slowing down during times of crisis like this, whatever it might be, to truly talk about what's happening, what are the real issues, and how is what's happening in the world impacting what we do every day, our mission and our vision. And you have to acknowledge that, because glossing over it doesn't work.
Right.
More than ever, people need to feel like they're embraced and they can truly be themselves when they show up every day, whatever their role may be. And so if as leaders, whatever your title may be, it doesn't matter. If you're not really bringing it every day to have that heart-to-heart conversation and see where everybody's head and heart is at, you're missing everything, because it's people first always. Everything else is just an issue. So in today's world, you have to, we call it enter the danger here at EOS Worldwide. It means don't tap dance around the issue. Just go for it. Be bold, be daring, always with kindness, because it's that wicked combination of being bold and kind that builds the greatest leadership team members, I think, anywhere. So I'd say that's a big part of it, Rhett, is people get so busy and almost so into what's happening in their own lives, it's hard to sometimes stop and acknowledge what's happening with everybody else around you. And I mean, all stakeholders, that's your leadership team, your employees, your customers, your vendors, your board, whoever it might be. It's that thinking that 360 all the time, which is really hard and sometimes not easy for most leadership team members to do. But if you can keep it present in your mind that every day I wake up, I show up to serve, and that means I have to listen first before I can respond. So
Right.
that's one piece there. And then the second half of that answer to your question is having a shared vision is like a hot knife through butter. So when you share a vision and you're united about what it is you are showing up to do every day, it makes it easier. It's never easy during crisis, but it makes it easier when you know you're all rowing together toward the same goal. And so the more that you can articulate what that vision is and get buy-in from the team, or vet out what disagreements you may have about the vision, the stronger you'll ultimately be as a team. So that's, the interesting thing is during crisis, we at EOS Worldwide, we're eating our own dog food. We're living and using our own tools to solve our own problems. And it's not perfection, it's progress every single day.
I love that. And it's not about seeking perfection. It's about, I mean, you have to seek perfection, I guess, but it's never going to be perfect, right? It's always that continuous striving to be better. What you talked about, you brought COVID in there. How do you think COVID is changing leadership?
Well, we see it firsthand because even historically, in other times of crisis beyond COVID, it's entrepreneurs that have paved the path out of crisis, that have been the creative problem solvers, the visionaries, the people who see what we can't see. It's seen around corners about how do we take what we're experiencing right now and make it a silver lining of something better for the future. And so with COVID, what we're seeing is, while there's tremendous devastation and heartbreak and so much of that going on the other side, we're also seeing something that is hopeful and inspiring, and that people are creating solutions to big problems that may never have happened if it weren't for COVID. So it's a two-pronged kind of thing. It's the Stockdale paradox. We have to acknowledge the fears and the reality, the brutal reality today, while never sacrificing the belief that we will succeed and we will prevail in the end. And so that's what COVID does for us. It reminds us that some of our issues before were kind of trivial, and to just focus on what is most important and how do we get out here? How do we get out of this? How do we be laser focused on the future? And we've had many organizations say that if not for EOS, they wouldn't have made it. They just wouldn't have made it out of COVID, because in the midst of all the head trash going on with what's happening in our world, it was the one thing they could hang on to just move forward. So that's what I think crisis does. It makes you stop, think, reflect, pivot, shift, continue to make mistakes while you're trying to get your way out of it. Mm-hmm. The mistakes are what help us become the next best version of ourselves.
Yeah, indeed. What is, talk about the system a little bit, and how you start working with a client, and how, is it do people take off chunks of it, or is it the system? How do you implement the system in your business, I guess?
It's a great question. So there are so many ways that you can engage and benefit from EOS. And I want to start with kind of creating a roadmap or a spectrum of where you can start, because quite candidly, we have 20 of our best tools that are free to the public right on eosworldwide.com, and you can look up those tools and download them. So one of those examples is, the leadership team issues list and how you work through that agenda on your Monday meetings. And then there's accountability charts and other things in there that help you get a grip on the business. There's also other ways that you can engage, and that's by reading Traction. That's the flagship initial book that Gino created, and there's also now 5 different books in the Traction library. So we call that self-implementation. 100,000 companies today have downloaded tools and or read our books and implement EOS completely of their own doing. And we celebrate and recognize how awesome that is. Some organizations feel like they want more accountability, more direction, more hand-holding along that journey of learning EOS, and that's when you might hire a professionally trained EOS implementer. But whatever your path, it's all great. It's whatever works best for you and for your organization. Definitely believe that if you can, hiring a professional EOS implementer is the best, because you have that person along the journey with you. It's not quite so scary. This is somebody who knows exactly how to navigate difficult waters, people issues, and really show you how to execute and repeatedly use the tools in the system to be successful. But there's all different ways to engage. And we also have an online training platform. Some organizations want something between reading the book and hiring an EOS implementer. And so that's just another way to self-implement EOS, is by downloading those additional resources and watching videos and things like that. So lots of ways to engage, everything from $0 to, what is hiring an implementer. And that's, several $1,000s per day for their advice and their guidance. But anything in there, Rhett, works just fine.
Talk about a little bit about, I'm sure you're in touch with people who've implemented this system, and maybe even some people who've used it during COVID. Can you talk about some of the businesses that you've seen just sort of transform, or some of the success stories that that you can share? Because I think that it's important to understand, some of the kinds of businesses that have really benefited from this.
Sure, absolutely. So as an integrator, I get stories often second or third hand, sometimes first hand, but it's our implementers who will come to our quarterly collaborative exchanges and share their stories about what's happened in the session room working directly with their clients. One of my favorite stories is this set of brothers who ran a family business in Minneapolis. And the business wasn't going well. It was taking a nosedive. It looked like they were going to need to close up shop. And kind of as a last ditch effort, they hire an EOS implementer. And of course, they're at each other's throats. These are brothers for whom they haven't had Thanksgiving dinner in a decade because it was just so much frustration had built up between them.
Yeah.
But they hired this EOS implementer thinking, well, we don't have anything else to lose. We might as well hire this implementer. And what was really remarkable is the journey that took them on did in fact help them to save the organization. And if you put a period on the end of that, that'd be probably good enough. But the really cool thing was when the implementer said to me, but Kelly, it repaired their relationship. They actually liked hanging out together. They did have Thanksgiving dinner together again. Their marriages were better. And so the underlying thing that I've learned as the integrator of EOS, the thing that's my most unexpected great is that, yes, it helps entrepreneurs and leadership teams run a better business, but it really teaches you how to communicate better, how to get to the root of the issue, and do so in a really healthy way.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Talk about. I guess I know we keep switching gears in different ways, but one of the things that I see, in a lot of ways, I'm encouraged by is with COVID and with all the issues that we're looking at in society today, is that it's really changing the way people think about work-life balance, is how we work from home. How do we? I know in my business, the staying home and not traveling so much has had so many positive benefits, and it's had some positive business benefits in the sense that I can be in 3 places in a day now. That normally I was in one place in a day. I had to get on a plane to go to another place, and this has made my work a lot more efficient. And I think that a lot of companies you talk to are really rethinking what the work means and how we do work. Is that going to change the way you guys do things? Is it going to change your system at all as work evolves and the meaning of it and how we do it? I mean, I'll give you an example. My son's first job, this first ever job, he's a high schooler, was a remote job. That was this summer. And so I think that we're just in for this really big transformation in the way we think about work. I mean, what's your take on that?
Oh, it's so true. What you were saying, you have hit the nail on the head. So when this all broke, COVID in March, it was a shock to our system because we are a face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, sit around a table and work everything out kind of organization, whether it be an implementer working with a client in a session room or us here at EOS Worldwide as we work and train implementers all over the world.
Right.
We had to pivot everything in our business to virtual because of that. And so everything from, we have an annual conference with 1,500 people that was meant to be in May, and that had to become virtualized all at once.
Right.
And to create confidence-inducing impact behind making it virtual, because nobody wants to show up to virtual and have it be bad. So right. You want it to be high integrity, great value for someone to show up that way. And everything, our implementers had to create virtual session rooms with ring lights and the technology and Zoom to be able to transform their world into virtual and to deliver EOS through a screen just like this. And then, of course, how do we teach someone to become an implementer? That's always been done, about 12 to 16 people in a room working with masterful trainers. That all had to also transform to virtual. And so what we've also learned is that, Dan Sullivan has said that Zoom is the transportation device of the era. And he's right, because borders are being removed. It's a good thing, but it's a hard thing because we have to get over the hurdle to get to producing whatever we do well virtually. But borders have disappeared now. Even though we can't travel in the United States anyway, we can't just travel anywhere we want in the world, and we may not for a period of time. But by way of virtual and also digital transformation. So I'll show you this. So this is, historically, we got an orange binder, right? And it has everything EOS and a leadership team. This is their track to run on. This is being digitized in a way that no longer do manuals have to be shipped, but it actually just gets sent digitally all over the world, and it can be used on an iPad. So for us, it's both the virtual and the digital transformation that's come. And I think that we're just one example of that, Rhett. Many, many organizations have pivoted and made that transition too, and are finding that you can actually impact and reach more people that way. So we should have been doing it probably a long time ago, but it took a crisis for us to get to see that.
No, it pushes you to think about new things, right? And pushes you out of that comfort zone. And I think that's pretty important. Talk about, and this is the last question for you, but what are you really scared about right now? And what are you excited about?
Yeah, that's great. It's funny you say that, because my quote that I often will say is that I am simultaneously terrified and thrilled to do what I do every day. So,
okay.
So what am I terrified
about?
about?
I can let you off the hook that easy, but okay, go ahead.
No, I'll give you both. So what am I terrified of? You know, our community of implementers is so tight and so vital to what we do. It's the core values alignment. And these are individuals who aren't just great at being entrepreneurs and guiding entrepreneurs, but they are the heart and the soul of who we are. And so I'm always terrified that I'm going to do something to screw that up. And so every day that I wake up, it's how do I preserve that, and how do I protect it and nurture it and continue to perpetuate that forever? Because community, when done right, is everything. And what am I most excited about? It's actually what we were talking about. It's transforming EOS in a way that impacts entrepreneurs in a positive way. And so we need entrepreneurs to win now more than ever before. I believe that the world needs EOS more than ever to make that happen. And so to the extent that we can create more scalability, more efficiency to take this to every corner of the world, that's my mission.
That just sparked another question. Do you, for somebody that's thinking of, I mean, with all the unemployment and the economic crisis that we're going to be facing, that we are facing, but I think will probably be deeper and more profound than we even understand. And that's globally, I think. If you're thinking about, is this a program for you guys? Is there a product that you have, or how do you, for somebody that's thinking about starting a business, is that something that you guys help people with as well?
Our target market, Rhett, are companies that have between 10 and 250 members, 250 people as part of their organization. So we're just beyond startup. We're small to mid-size is where our target market, who we best serve. But I will give you a little tip. So Gino Wickman, who I said was the originator entrepreneur behind EOS, he has created a book called Entrepreneurial Leap. And so his newfound passion is helping people who discover if they are an entrepreneur and how to help them realize and actualize that. So Entrepreneurial Leap is the best place I know today to get started in that. And then it's, once you start an organization and get to 10 to 250, then EOS plugs in really nicely with that. But Gino is brilliant. One of the best mentors and navigators I've ever had in my life. And I would follow him anywhere. And so my biggest recommendation for anyone thinking about, even contemplating starting your own business in today's environment, it's actually a great time to do it because the world needs you. Pick up a copy of Entrepreneurial Leap, or e-leap.com is how you can go visit Gino's website and check him out a little bit there.
Okay, that's good advice, because I think, as people get laid off and they lose their jobs and this crisis deepens, I know I started a business in the middle of the last recession and was able to exit that and go global and work in 35 countries. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's the time to do it. And like you said, the world needs you. And I think that's entrepreneurship can be an answer to getting out of this crisis. So thank you so much for your time today. This is fascinating. I think I agree that one of the failings of small business and medium business and business in general is having those systems and having those structures that can really help us do it better. And so thank you so much for that.
Well,
We'll
really appreciate it.
We'll put a link into EOS, into the organization, into the chat for the show. And again, thank you so much, Kelly.
Yeah, appreciate that. Here to help all of you out there. So keep going. And thank you, Rhett. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's been great being here. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for joining Power Lunch Live today. And if you want to find out more about the upcoming schedule, it's powerlunch.live. That's our website, and you can check that out and find out who we have coming up in the next day or two and in the next month or two. So please join us on the website, and you can reach us there as well. Thank you. Thank you for spending some time with us. Have a great day. Be safe and productive.